What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the brand new channel, Nostalgic Pixels. And if you guys haven't noticed already, this is a brand new channel talking about all the retro classics and giving reviews and retrospectives of what these games were like and what it's like to play in modern day. And if they still hold up well, are they fun, what they meant to the community at the time. But not just that, we're also going to be covering games like today that are modern games with that retro classic feel and style, as well as covering some of the most legendary franchises, whether it be new or old titles that they have. But anyways, let's get into it. Today is going to be about TMNT Shredder's Revenge and why Shredder's Revenge could be a good game for you to try out for the first time if you haven't done so already. So let's get into it. Shredder's Revenge is your classic beat-em-up game developed by Tribute Games. It is inspired by the 1980s, 1990s series of the TMNT animated series. It comes on pretty much every single platform you can think of: Netflix, mobile, Google Play Store, Apple Play Store, Steam, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation. Literally, this game can run on a toaster. It's on everything, and that's due to obviously the specific art style that they took and had inspiration from, which was from the classic 1980s to 90s TMNT animated series. The story follows the Turtles as they set out to stop Shredder from taking over New York City while facing foes that stand in their way. Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo, all along with April O'Neil and Master Splinter, are watching the news on TV at home, just chilling, when they're interrupted by Bebop, who announces the Foot has returned and taking over the Statue of Liberty. The game stays true to the animated series and the previous TMNT games made by Konami back in the 80s and 90s, as well as the arcades as well. This is pretty much almost like a spiritual successor to what those games were 30 years ago. And with that being said, the gameplay mechanics of this game is pretty much identical to those classic beat 'em ups that you played back on the NES and SNES, as well as the arcades back in the day. So it kind of stays pretty true to that. It's just pretty much 4 buttons. You have move, block, attack, and then you have your specials that you gain after you fill up your bar. There's also combos that you can do based on which direction you are putting your D-pad alongside the attack button. I will say there's not very many combos that there is, but some of them are pretty fun, and each character has their own set of different abilities like you would expect with the different weapons that they have. Honestly, I find the combat in this game to just be simple fun. There's a little bit of variety in the weapons, obviously based on what characters you have, and there's a decent amount of characters that you can play as, not just the main squad, but you have a wide variety of the different side characters in the series. There are small little hidden items spread throughout each level where you can also gain to get access to these separate sections like that April might need or other side characters might need, as well as challenges that you can try to complete. And I will say this, I've only completed a couple of the challenges and it's pretty damn difficult for some of them. I've put in a decent amount, and it's definitely a game with a good amount of challenges that can keep you busy if you don't mind pretty much kind of playing the same thing over and over again, hoping you can kind of beat those, because it does give you that classic feel of like, oh man, I want to get these challenges, but you're kind of doing the same thing. And honestly, yeah, it's a super fun game. I've enjoyed a ton of it. I've been playing it on my phone as well as on my console and on PC. It's been pretty dope to actually kind of see that cross progression that it has. Like I said, there's a bunch of different playable characters that they've added throughout DLC, but then there's also just DLC story as well. In this video, I'm not going to be covering so much of the DLC because I haven't actually played it yet myself. I'm just going to mostly talk about the base game, but it's cool to see that they are adding DLC to this game and kind of keeping the legs going for what it is, because there's clearly a hunger and a desire for games like this, something a little bit more simple. One thing I do enjoy about this game as well is that every boss fight and every level is pretty much different and unique. The game, obviously, as you can tell, has this retro pixelated art style like that 16-bit that we used to see back in the early 90s, late 80s. I do think the game has a wide variety of colors, which I love a lot. It's a super colorful game, and I also find the level design super interesting. Each setting has its own unique backdrop and place that you're at, whether it be the mall, the streets, like different neighborhoods. It's the one thing I really enjoy, that if you're on the bridge, it's pretty cool because each map really feels different. It doesn't feel like you're kind of, playing that same level over and over again. And there's a strong level of attention to detail to it as well. Like, there's so many tiny little things that you can do, and so many things you don't even realize that are breakable or you can lift up or whatever it might be. Also, too, in terms of audio for this game, I think the soundtrack is great. It's super entertaining. Like I said, it kind of brings you back a little bit, and I wish that we had a little bit more iconic music nowadays in modern games that you don't really see that much anymore. It has this good goofy moments where the turtles just interacting with each other and making fun of the bosses and things like that. And now I will say that the sound effects in terms of like the hitting and the combat, I don't necessarily find super satisfying. I wish it was a little bit more satisfying in that sense because it is a beat 'em up, and I think one of the best things about beat 'em ups is having that satisfaction of really punching somebody, kind of similar to what you saw. Obviously completely different genre, but of beat 'em ups, but like the Arkham series, for example, it's just something about that loop. It's just so fun, and a large part of it is because of that audible satisfaction that you get that I don't think you really get in this game. Now, in terms of like replayability and content of what you have in the base game, there's 4 straight modes. There's story, arcade, co-op, and survival. I think for some people, it can get a little bit of repetitive kind of playing these over and over again. It kind of depends on you. This is not a game you want to sink a ton of time into. There's not really a lot to do. I believe, according to How Long to Beat, it's about 5 hours, I want to say, in total for the base game, obviously not including all the DLC. But I do find this game to be really fun for games where you're kind of like, you're traveling, you're in the car, or maybe you just have a couple friends over who don't take games too seriously, but you want something to do and fun. This game kind of fits that perfect couch co-op feel. And yeah, I just wouldn't expect to put dozens of hours into it unless you're trying to get every single challenge, every single thing, because I will say, like, even for myself, it does over time get a little bit of repetitive, but I do enjoy it enough to where after those breaks, I go back to it. The release has now had, since release, there's now been 2 DLCs, like I mentioned before, that have brought tons of new characters, levels, stories, and also soundtracks too. And overall, based on the critics and the reception, and also just the general fans and the gamers out there, that this game is very highly rated. And quite honestly, I can see why, as somebody who just recently sunk a good amount of hours into this game. I just find this game to be simple fun that you can play by yourself, but also, like I said, just fun to play with friends, whether it be online or in person. You can set it up, and also just like the perfect travel game. And in an industry where we're at in gaming, where so many games require you to like have to dump so much time into and grinding for you to get that. And I love how having games like this kind of brings that simplicity back. And one of the reasons why I started this channel is going back to these classic games, because sometimes quantity doesn't mean quality. And sometimes you can have a game that has 50 plus hours of content, but it's not going to be as fun as that game that's 8. For example, to kind of reference a more modern game that I found to have a lot of fun with, but not super long, was High on Life. That was a really fun game that was creative and goofy, and it didn't take a lot of time. I want to say it was like 8 to 10 hours, somewhere around there. But yeah, it's pretty nice to kind of go back and not go back, but also have these new games, especially for people who kind of crave that, who love games like that, who don't want to go out there and spend and buy a original NES system and get or SNES system and get the TMNT with that. You can kind of get this new modern game that you can play on anything, play on your Switch, take it wherever you want, and have fun with it. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video and more content like this, I got a slew of ideas coming up and a bunch of games that I'm going to be playing and be releasing, so be on the lookout for that. If you guys enjoy retro game retrospectives as well as games with the retro take, I'm always looking for those as well. Please reach out and let me know down in the comments below what game you'd like to see me cover first or next. And yeah, we will catch you guys in the next one. Like I said, if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to the new channel. I will greatly appreciate it. And yeah, peace out, everybody, and see you in the next one.